After the fiasco at the White House, where tensions ran high between Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and US President Donald Trump and his deputy JD Vance, can Zelensky's attendance at a key summit in London ensure security agreements and a peace deal? We have the Federal's managing editor, K.S. Murthy, here to share his perspective on the issue. So, the first question I would like to ask you is after the blow up last week at the White House, is it possible for Zelensky and Trump to make up?
As of the moment, all indications, in fact, there are no indications that there can be any kind of a makeup, but it's probably too early to come to a definitive conclusion. What has happened is that the UK Prime Minister, the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, he says he spoke to Trump, and then he got the indication that Trump was kind of open to some kind of a makeup, but these are still completely up in the air. But it looks very difficult because the moment the blow up got completed and Zelensky literally walked out of the place, he was asked to leave the US. There has been, all kinds of statements from the US, from officials close to Trump, really criticizing Zelensky and, in fact, asking him to step down and have some alternative individual or president who can do the deal. In fact, the Trump's final word to Zelensky was, "Come back to the White House when you're ready for peace." So it looks, pretty tough. It's a tough situation right now for Zelensky.
Hmm. What do you think the status of the current proposed peace deal would have to be right now? Would be at right now?
So there is a peace deal which Trump initiated after he took over as president, and he directly spoke to Putin, and he completely left out Zelensky and Europe from the gamut of these discussions. So he completely ignored both of them, and as all of us know, what he has done is he has completely gone with Putin, which
Hmm.
means that he has not really asked him for any kind of a security guarantee. Neither has he asked that he return the territories occupied by
Hmm.
Russia. I mean, the Ukrainian territory is occupied by Russia. So it is almost as if the talks between Trump and Putin have been unconditional in favor of Russia. Okay, so that is also one of the reasons why you had this kind of a blow up that happened on Friday last. So the point is now this peace deal remains as it is. It's frozen, we can say, for the time being. And Europe is now trying to come up with an alternative peace deal.
Is it possible for Europe to repair the damage between Trump and Zelensky? Considering that, one of the chief officers of NATO told him to repair relationships with the president and to respect how much the US has done for Ukraine.
Yeah, but you see, the point is Trump is acting in a manner that has completely shocked the world, and particularly allies in Europe, of course, and as far as Ukraine is concerned. Okay, now how do you repair a deal? You repair a deal if Europe is on talking, or if Europe is has a good relationship with Trump. Europe may continue to have a good relationship with Trump, but that's what they think. But as far as Trump is concerned, he's treating his European allies with complete disdain. So he really hasn't, for instance, he has not consulted them on this peace deal at all. He's acted unilaterally. He has not invited them for the peace talks with Putin. So if you look at it that way, Trump is least bothered whether Europe is there and on the same table or not. But as far as the European allies are concerned, they are now looking, and they are depending on the decades old transatlantic relationship between Europe and the US to somehow persuade Trump to take a relook and then accommodate both Ukraine and Europe into the conversation with Putin. So whether Europe will succeed or not right now, is completely unclear. We will get to know all this very shortly, maybe even as early as Monday evening US time.
Yes, a lot of Ukrainian media has gone particularly hard on the U.S. president, stating that his statements of "I am a business person" and are not necessarily something that are appropriate for somebody that is in a position of political power. And a lot of them are rallying behind Zelensky, where one of several journalists have stated that Trump is shifting the blame onto Zelensky, stating that he's basically teasing World War III by constantly berating Putin in that meeting that they had.
See, there is no surprise that the Ukrainian media backs its president, Zelensky. I mean, it's a obviously Ukrainians will support Zelensky. In fact, a lot of people around the world also support Zelensky, including leaders in Europe. But one thing is very clear from the blow up that happened on Friday is that Zelensky is short on political experience. It was a full-fledged 50-minute meeting, that was happening. For the first 40 minutes, things seemed to be on an even keel. In fact, there was absolutely no tension. There were questions being asked by the media. Trump was answering it. Occasionally, Zelensky also pitched in. It was fine till the 40th minute. And then in the 40th minute, things went out of hand when Zelensky insisted on security guarantees, and he also pointed out how since 2014 Putin has broken a series of promises and he's not kept up his word. And remember, Trump was also president from 2016 to 2020, so he was indirectly blaming Trump himself. So you don't do that when you are in the middle of a sensitive discussion and sitting in, in the house or in the White House with the president. So you can look at it both ways. You can definitely blame Trump and his deputy JD Vance. You can also lay the blame on Zelensky, and it turned out to be one temperamental person against another, and it just went out of hand. It's something that you can take a view either way.
All right, sir.
Yeah.
So just today morning, on Monday, Zelensky released a video stating that he was grateful for the US's aid or for US's allyship towards Ukraine. Do you think that this might have been damage control?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, see, please remember, when Zelensky was in the White House talking to the president, they were about to sign a deal that would give 50% of the natural resources or the mineral rights in Ukraine to the US. So they were preparing to hand over in an agreement. So, because in lieu of all the money that the US has spent on the war, okay, so it's like Zelensky, for a country to offer this, make this kind of an offer, it obviously means that Ukraine is completely dependent on the US. In fact, even Europe, for all it's now trying to make up and all that, they insist that Trump should be with them. Any alternative peace deal that Europe comes up with, Trump has to be in the deal. So what it basically shows is that both Zelensky and the European allies cannot move without US being on their side. If Trump takes a position that no, either you have to do what I'm telling you or there is no deal, both Zelensky and Europe will have a very tough time because they cannot go ahead with the war on their own. Without the US involvement in this war cannot continue. Yes, Europe is also has powerful nations, big nations, but they don't match up to the US. And even if they increase the military aid, they increase funding for Ukraine. If Trump is hostile to Europe and to Zelensky, that's it. Nothing can be done. So it just will amount to mere bravado from Europe and Zelensky. So that is the reason why you see Zelensky going out of his way to make up and saying that I mean, whatever you read out, we want Trump to be on our side, and I want to again meet the Trump and sign the agreement. I'm very much for the agreement. etc., etc. And then you have the British Prime Minister saying whatever he's saying, that there is an alternative peace deal, but it has to have the backing of Trump. So you see, all the cards are in Trump's hands, the US's hands, and none as far as Zelensky and Europe are concerned. So that kind of gives you an idea where it's all headed.
So then,
It's either highway or the highway. I mean, there's a saying in English,
yes.
It's like that.
Yes, sir. So then, can we assume that the security deals, security guarantees that the Europe can potentially give Ukraine, will they be as effective, or will the Ukraine be able to benefit more from them, considering if Trump decides to back out completely?
Yes. So if Trump backs out completely, Europe is already, that is, Britain has already said they will station troops in Ukraine. Okay, but any security guarantee. So when they say security guarantee, they fundamentally mean that there will be European NATO troops in Ukraine. Okay, which Trump has not agreed to, by the way. Trump has not said okay to that, because Trump is not looking at it, because Putin is not going to agree for NATO troops to be stationed in Ukraine for a peace. He's not going to agree. So it's going to get further complicated. So that is also one of the reasons why Trump got extremely agitated, because he said you don't have, you have no cards in your hand. There is nothing for you to play with. So what he's basically trying to tell Ukraine and to Zelensky is that you're finished. There's nothing that you can do more than this. So we just have to go with whatever Putin is saying. So it's like that. So either you accept it or just leave it. So, but no security guarantee will work without the US agreeing to it, and of course Putin agreeing to it. I mean, eventually.
Yes.